Welcome to Dodgers Daily. Casey Porter here. So glad you decided to tune in. We have a very special guest tonight. Very, very, very special guest. Right-handed pitcher in the Dodgers organization. JaredKarros joins Dodgers Daily. So, Jared, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be on here.
Okay, very good. Super awesome season last year in 2023. Unbelievable ending for the entire team. You yourself, I'm going to look to my left because I want to make sure and get these numbers correct. Okay, 83.2 innings. You had 86 strikeouts, a 112 whip, which is simply fantastic. You allowed just one earned run in your last 5 starts and just 2 earned runs in your last 28 innings, and you had 26 strikeouts in that span. Wow, that's called a heater right there, Jared.
Yep. Yeah, it was a great way to end the year for sure.
So talk about, it's kind of the season for the you kind of got there right when everything was heating up really good. You guys had an awesome run. It almost felt like a college atmosphere when you went on that playoff run. So just kind of talk about that whole experience.
Yeah, so going up to Great Lakes was a great experience for sure, especially going into the playoffs. I felt really close with the guys. A lot of them went to college, so just going into the playoffs with them, it did feel a little bit like that what you just mentioned, the college atmosphere a little bit. But just being able to play with them and compete was really, really fun.
Yeah, and that's a really cool environment because you had such great pitchers and you had, DA just does such a great job there. So you actually didn't start pitching in your career till I think your junior year in high school. Do I have that correct?
Yeah, that is correct. That's when I fully transitioned to becoming a pitcher.
So what is it that, first of all, how in the world did they get away with not pitching a big guy like you in high school? And then what actually was the determining factors that moved you from a position player to the pitching side?
Yeah, so I was playing first before I started pitching, and I think that I was always pretty good at first base. So I think just being a starter at first kind of made me not available to be a pitcher. So ultimately, when I transitioned, I was kind of overhitting. I wasn't loving it, and I felt like if my future was going to be in baseball, it'd be on the mound. And so far, everything's turned out well with that.
I'll tell you what, with the stuff that guys have like you nowadays, it's easier to be a pitcher than it is a hitter, isn't it?
Yeah. I don't know how they do it sometimes, but sometimes I find myself giving hitters too much credit, and then I got to think back to just how hard it is to hit the ball.
I hear that several different times. Hey, yeah, you forget it's very hard to hit the ball. But hey, I like to ask guys who, it seems like every single professional pitcher used to be a first baseman or a shortstop or an outfielder or something in high school. Do you miss BP? Do you ever ask to take BP?
Never really on the team, but on the side, I'll take some swings in the cages here and there just to see if I still got it. Sometimes I like to just see what kind of power I've got, but yeah, that's about the extent of my BP.
I was talking to Ryan Brown, who just got drafted in the 2023 draft, and at Ball State, if you threw a shutout, then you got to hit BP. They called a pitcher's BP the next day. That'd be cool, wouldn't it?
Really? Yeah, that would be sweet. We never got to do that over at UCLA. I don't think Coach Savage would have been too fond of that.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Okay, so going back to your days at high school, super lucky to get to play for Coach Ramsey, a guy that played at the University of Florida, a guy that played 11 years in the minor leagues. So obviously you had your dad, who was just an absolute great mentor, I'd have to think. But then also you had an unbelievable high school coach in Coach Ramsey. So you've been very fortunate, haven't you?
Yeah, I was really fortunate to have Keith, Coach Ramsey, as you mentioned, as my high school coach. Just with the whole baseball and pitching, he was really helpful, but also outside of baseball, just being a mentor and someone I could kind of look up to and ask for advice here and there. He's always been someone that's been in my corner. So, yeah, very fortunate to have him.
So obviously your dad, Eric, he was the rookie of the year. He's, very famous in the Southern California area, just a wonderful Dodger in his day. And so obviously he was a great mentor. Is that, the rumor is though that, him and your brother, you and your brother, I should say, he'd go watch you guys play at UCLA and he'd actually be more nervous watching you guys than he ever got playing. Is that true?
Yeah, that's what I've heard. That's what he says. Just sitting in the stands and not having any say over what happens just causes him to get more nervous than when he played. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think there's obvious reasons why you chose UCLA. Your dad went there, and it's close by and it's a great school. Coach Savage is a wonderful coach. Your brother ended up going there. You guys actually got to play together in 2021. So talk about your decision to go to UCLA, your time there, and then how cool it was to get to play with your brother.
Yeah, so all the factors you mentioned obviously played into it. And then also just the education that UCLA offers. I'm actually taking classes right now, trying to finish up my degree. But yeah, just the proximity, just how good the baseball program has been, Coach Savage and their development of pitchers, just all of that. So those were what factored in for me. And then being able to play with my brother was pretty awesome. Just him being at third and me on the mound. When he'd throw the ball to me each inning, that was pretty cool to be able to have. So yeah, it was a very, very good experience for me.
What's the Rose Bowl like on a college football Saturday? I've been to the actual Rose Bowl game when Wisconsin played. I can't remember where they played, like in the mid '90s or something like that. But what's it like on a college football Saturday? That pretty cool?
Yeah, it's a cool spot for sure. I actually went this past weekend when Dion and Colorado came into town, so that was fun to be able to see them and UCLA compete. Fortunately, UCLA got the dub in that game, but no, yeah, the Rose Bowl is a really cool place. I would say the only downside to it is how far it is from campus. So sometimes it's kind of a hassle getting there, but just the history that's gone on at the Rose Bowl and seeing UCLA play is pretty cool.
So you got to play with your brother Kyle. That was really cool. That had to be a really cool experience for your dad sitting up I can only imagine him sitting up in the top corner of the stands, sitting there watching both of his boys play and churning like every dad does. Then you also got to play with Nick Nastrini, who's also, well, not in the Dodgers organization anymore, got traded last year, but he's a really cool dude. So talk about what it was like playing with Nick Nastrini and what he's like.
Yeah, it was really cool playing with him. I think when I first came in as a freshman, he was a sophomore, and he kind of showed me the ropes a little bit and helped me out with a lot of things there. So I was lucky to have that. And then also when went to the Dodgers first, so when I got drafted, he already had kind of gone through it a little bit, so he knew the ins and outs and some helped me out with some things. So yeah, I was very fortunate to have him, and he's a hell of a pitcher.
Ever been out around anybody who's more competitive than him?
No, he's definitely up there. I think everything he does really competitive. Yeah.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Okay, yeah. So you hurt your back and did not get to pitch in 2022. So it was kind of interesting. You didn't pitch until your junior year in high school. Then you lost, 2020 to COVID, and then you didn't get to pitch in 2022. So first of all, before we get into all that, kind of take us through that process, the injury, and what it was like, how frustrating it was not to get to pitch there in 2022.
Yeah, so I went down in 2021. I was coming off my best start and then just didn't really recover and went and saw a doctor and realized I was going to be out for some time. So it was pretty tough just not being able to take the field with my teammates and, working so hard to get to that point and then just having it taken away was a pretty tough pill to swallow. But I definitely learned a lot throughout the process, and I think I grew as a person a lot more through it, just grinding every day, trying to get back to it. So while it did suck, I'm thankful for what it taught me throughout.
So you got to play for a coach in college that played 11 years in the minor leagues. You got to go to UCLA. Then you got to get drafted by the Dodgers, man. I'd say you're pretty blessed, huh?
Yeah, no, everything has worked out very well for me so far. So I'm really fortunate and very thankful, yeah.
This is probably a really, really, really easy question because you were drafted by the Dodgers. I'm sure your hometown, well, not I'm sure, I would almost guarantee the fact that it was a team that you grew up being a diehard for, but was there any choice whatsoever between staying in college and becoming a pro?
Yeah, for sure. I was contemplating a little bit just because I didn't really know what things were going to look like going forward. So I wanted to pitch at UCLA, but I think ultimately I had to look at what was going to be the best decision for my career going forward. So I think that's kind of what led me to sign and to be able to go with the Dodgers. Such a good organization and the way they take care of their players and develop them as well. I think it was a pretty easy decision for me to sign.
So, we mentioned didn't pitch till your junior year in high school, then didn't get 2020, then didn't get 2022. So coming into this last season, did you kind of feel like you had a lot of time to make up?
Um, a little bit, yes and no. I would say I was definitely really excited to get back to it, but I kind of trusted my abilities and all the work that I put in. That I knew I would be in a pretty good spot to succeed as long as I stayed on the field and gave myself a chance. So I would say, yeah, that was kind of the biggest thing for me.
Talk about what your stuff's like right now. I know you're what, about 92 to 94, something like that?
Yeah, I'll sit in that range. I throw four pitches. I feel confident moving my fastball and attacking hitters with all my pitches. So um, I would say my main thing is always just living off my fastball and being able to move it around the plate.
Yeah. What was it like getting to throw to three just unbelievable catchers? Of course, DaltonRushing, the number one prospect in the Dodgers organization once you got moved up to Great Lakes. YeinerFernandez, unbelievably underrated. And then I think maybe the most underrated player in the entire Dodgers organization, GriffinLockwoodPowell. And I know his framing skills, I mean, they're just absolutely elite. I think he's just super underrated, the job he does behind the plate catching. So what was it like getting to throw to three unbelievable catchers like that?
Yeah, it was pretty special for sure. I think one of the biggest things was just trusting their pitch calling abilities and the game planning that went into it before the games. I think that was a big help for me, just having confidence in my catcher and what they're putting down, and just knowing I had to execute the pitch. So yeah, it was pretty cool throwing to them for sure.
So you have a ton of momentum going into the offseason. What will your offseason look like?
So right now, as I mentioned before, I'm taking classes right now, and I'm also working out at the stadium, which is a pretty special opportunity. Just having big leaguers coming in each day, and just kind of getting to see the way they go about their business, and then also having all the resources they have over there. So that's kind of what I'm at now, and it's pretty special.
Does your dad wait for you to ask for advice, or does he watch you play and kind of step in and give you advice? How does that work out?
I would say it's a combination of both. There's sometimes when he'll kind of step in and say what's on his mind and what he thinks, and then there'll be other times when he kind of waits for me to reach out to him and kind of ask him what I think or what his thoughts were on the game and stuff like that.
Your brother Kyle's playing professionally right now, too. He just got drafted this last year.
Yeah, he signed with the Rockies this last year, and then I thought I was going to face him when he went out to Fresno, but didn't meet up times wise. So, but yeah, he's with the Rockies now.
Okay, very cool. So you would know. I mean, you've been around it your whole life. You've been out around professional baseball. So what things do you think you do good enough right now to be a consistent major leaguer?
I would just say my consistency, kind of having the same stuff each outing, and not having too high of highs and too low of lows. Just kind of being consistent with what I do and knowing what you're going to get. And then just my fastball, I'd say, is probably my bread and butter right now. Just being able to move it around and force hitters to make decisions on pitches.
So if I were to ask you what one thing or set of things do you think you need to work on the most, what would that be?
I would just say being consistent with all four of my pitches. I would say sometimes my curveball this offseason was kind of not really existent. So that's kind of what I'm focusing on right now, is just being able to be consistent with all four of my pitches in the zone, every hitter, no matter what the situation is.
You and Campos getting to where I know you guys worked out a lot last offseason when I got a chance to talk to him. You two getting to work out again this offseason?
Yeah, he's been going to the stadium as well. So it's good to have him there, being able to have a catch play partner and all that kind of stuff. So yeah.
Talk about a competitive dude. Played shortstop there at St. Mary's, pitched some, and he actually was on the same St. Mary's team that Michael Hobbs, one of your teammates of Great Lakes, was at. Hobbs, he actually was the all-time saves leader there at St. Mary's. So it's amazing how baseball just networks everybody together, makes it a small world. Hey, I wanted to ask you, though, either a particular memory or set of memories or just overall thoughts on what was it like getting to grow up in a major league clubhouse?
It was definitely awesome. I would say kind of my favorite thing was we would go down to spring training for about a week or so, when my dad would kind of like fill in and guest coach, and just being able to be around the guys and just see what they did was pretty special. And I would say my one specific memory that always comes to mind is playing ping pong against MattKemp one time. That was pretty special and surreal, I gotta say.
You know, Matt Kemp's an Oklahoma boy, Midwest City. I had to coach
Yeah.
against him. That was not fun.
Yeah, no, I'm sure.
Yeah, quite a great athlete. That program, Midwest City, is an unbelievable program. They're a suburb of, actually produced JT Realmuto too, the catcher for the
Oh,
Phillies.
okay.
Yeah, that area. So yeah, that's a pretty incredible area for athletics around there. So I wanted to ask you that. That's really cool getting to grow up in an environment like that. Super special, super special. So okay, message for kids, man. I mean, you know, most kids that ever pick up baseball, whether it be t-ball or whenever they first start playing, they want to become JaredKarros. They want to get in a position where they become a professional baseball player. What is your best advice for them?
I would just say you got to work hard and trust the process. It's not going to be a linear thing where everything just works out. There's going to be highs, there's going to be lows, but you just got to stay consistent with your work throughout the process, and things will end up how you want them to.
Awesome deal. That is just absolutely great advice, JaredKarros. I know you're super busy, so I appreciate it so much. You carving out some time and coming on to Dodgers Daily. Huge fan. I super enjoyed last season and watching you progress as it went through. So, hey, thank you so much, Jared.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. Always enjoy talking to you and seeing you around the ballpark.
All right. Very good.